How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here, and today's update news video goes over all of the World of Tanks console update information for this week and the upcoming information for the rest of the week. We'll go through basically all of the info. We'll have a look at the new tanks that are coming into the game. We've also got a confirmation of a brand new tank line definitely coming into the game very, very soon, being the Italian heavy tanks, which you can obviously jump around in the video to the different sections using the timestamps that I have provided, so you can have a look at which sections most interest you, have a look through them, and if you want to watch the whole video, of course, you can just do that as normal. But with regards to the news for this week, let's get straight into it. So the first one being what's happening this week. Obviously, this is just a general weekly news, and we have the end of the season coming up in this next week. So if you haven't already completed the season pass until the 22nd of June, that is when it ends. So as long as you've completed all of the operations and all of the season pass to get to tier 100, then you'll be absolutely fine. Of course, if you want to spend a little bit of gold, if you haven't quite got there and you really want the Atomic Centurion, then you can do, but it is up to you at the end of the day. Now, what's actually coming this week? Well, we have got the Summer Vibes Challenge, so it's basically a operation whereby you can actually get this emblem right here. It's called Miami Nights, and you can get 5 of them. In order to get this emblem, it's kind of a limited time, I would guess, emblem. So if you want to get it, then definitely go towards it. But basically, you have to play multiplayer battles. So whether that be on Cold War or the standard game mode, it's up to you. But it can't be co-op game mode. So it has to be the multiplayer versions of the standard World War II or the Cold War version. So in order to actually get it, the first operation or kind of challenge that you have to complete is placing in the top 10 XP earners on your team in 5 battles. So that will reward you with 5 enhanced medkits and 5 enhanced smoke screens, which is obviously really good for those of you who are trying to get some premium consumables, save you a bit of silver. And of course, then the second operation gives you another set of consumables. You'll basically have to place in the top 7 damage dealers on your team. So instead of it being placed in the top 10 XP, it's actually placed in the top 7 damage dealers on your team in 5 battles. So once you complete that, you will get 5 enhanced repair kits, 5 enhanced whole patch kits. So yet again, for Cold War and World War II, the rewards are. Now, for the third one, and to complete the Miami Nights emblem, you will have to place in the top 7 spotting assisters on your team, and so I would recommend playing in either light tanks or medium tanks if you really do want to get this operation. As with all 3 stages, they are only available once per account, so you can't multiple stack this operation by just completely going through them over and over again. So the maximum equipment that you will get is you'll get 20 enhanced kind of consumables, which is the premium consumables, and the 5 Miami Nights emblems. So they are limited edition, I would guess, and they won't probably get released again as part of this. Now, obviously, this is the section for those of you looking to spend a bit of dollar on the game, and of course, if you're willing to actually spend maybe some of the gold that you've actually accumulated from the season pass over the last couple, if you've been around for that long. Of course, new players are just looking at what kind of premium tanks they should pick up. Now, we will go through all of these, so if you want to skip ahead, of course, do that. But if you're interested in maybe purchasing some of the bundles and finding out what kind of tanks are actually okay, then I guess stay tuned. Now that we've gone through that, the Fun Under the Sun bundle, what is it all about? Well, it's 11,000 gold, so it's quite expensive. You get a tier 8 light tank, a tier 8 medium tank, and another tier 8 medium tank. Right, how competitive are these tanks? Well, the M41 Brazilian Bulldog is fairly competitive. It's not, I wouldn't say it's overpowered. It's certainly not going to win you games single-handedly if you've got one on the team. It's kind of one of those light tanks which has been buffed recently with a couple of patches ago, and it certainly will give you some decent games. However, for the majority of players, it's kind of called the Billy Dog, and basically it's a little bit, it's kind of a hard one to play, I guess, because it does have those HEP rounds, the HEP rounds, I believe, within the tank. I'm not entirely sure about that, but yeah, this tank is actually a fairly decent one, and you can have some really good games. You kind of have to play it like a medium light tank, like a might tank, as I would like to say, but Yeah, you have to play it kind of like a medium because it is quite boxy. It's fairly slow to get up to the top speed, but once it does, it can be really, really good. Now, as regards to the STG, pretty mediocre medium tank. It's a Russian or Soviet tank, not particularly the best one in game, and certainly isn't going to win you games hands down. It's kind of relies on its armor. That's kind of the sacrifice that it kind of takes within the other aspects of the game, but what happens is the armor layout doesn't really work, so although it's supposedly a heavier medium tank, it doesn't really work like that, and so it kind of sacrifices a lot for not really any gain. So for me personally, the STG, or otherwise known as the Guard, not a tank I would particularly want to pick up, especially if I've got barely any premium tanks within the garage myself. So the final one being the Beach Party. Now this is actually a pretty interesting mercenary tank that you can actually pick up within the game. It's a tier 8, it's a tier 8 kind of Centurion hull, but it has got a load of spaced armour slapped on the side of it, as with all of the mercenaries, as well as on the side of the turret, and it makes this thing really, really well armoured actually for a kind of medium tank within World of Tanks console, and of course it comes with a standard 2D commander as well, which I think may get like a slight bonus to XP, not entirely sure, so don't take my word for it, but basically, Beach Party, decent one. You'll have some good games for sure. And for 11,000 gold, you aren't going to go too wrong, considering you'll pick up 3 tier 8s. But for me personally, there are better options this week with regards to spending that much gold, especially with the tanks that are available. Now for the second one, Desert Heat, we've got the Nomad Somu SM heavy tank at tier 8 from the French line. We've got the British tier 8 artillery, the HMH FV305. The tier 8 Burt is what we like to call it, the FV304, the tier 6. It's basically a tier 8 version with slightly higher alpha, and the reload is slightly longer. But the concept is essentially the same. Shorter gun arc. You have to get further up within the field. You can't just sit at the back of the map and ping shells halfway across the map. But yeah, so you kind of have to use the tank slightly more aggressively as compared to other artillery. But if you do like the FV304, the Burt artillery, then yeah, this tank is actually pretty interesting. Then, of course, at the final slot, you get the Turtle light tank, the tier 8. This is the 700 Alpha light tank, I believe. I think it gets heat as well. So you've got actually 660 alpha, even I should say, 74mm of penetration. It's the Derp light tank, and this is one that you want to get up close and personal with heavy tanks right behind them. Make sure that you're firing into the back of them to deal with this whopping amount of damage. And of course, if you're fighting light tanks, then you can just use these HE rounds that do the 660. And if you really do need that extra penetration of 142mm, then you could always load that. But you do take the sacrifice to your damage down to 510. So yeah, an interesting tank. 13,645 gold. What do I think of that? Well, considering the Nomad Somu base is pretty much that cost, you can't go too wrong, especially if you want the Nomad, because it is a pretty nice auto-loading heavy tank. So yeah, interesting one for me. If you haven't got any of them and you really do like some of their kind of counterparts on the tech tree, being the tier 6 Burt and also the T49 with the derp gun, and similarly the AMX 5100. This is basically like a buffed up version with more armor at tier 8. So yeah, certainly one to look at, especially if you want to spend some money. Now, with regards to the other ones, we've got Super Summertime Faves. So this one has the Senlac, which is pretty mediocre light tank. I really wouldn't recommend it too much. We then get the King Dragon Type 59. So this is a Type 59 that is basically a buffed one. You've got the 390 alpha damage, but for most of you who got the Type 59-2, it's very, very similar, if not the exact same. It's just a skinned version. And then of course the HMH M51 Super Sherman, which is basically the Revelarize, but for the American tank or tech tree. So yeah, I don't think it's particularly that overpowered in the game, and certainly for spending 11,000 gold, this probably is the worst of the 3 bundles so far. Then the fourth and final bundle for this week is the Tigers on the Prowl. You've got the Tiger 217, the heavy tank at tier 6, the heavy tank number 6, which is a Japanese tank, and then you've got the Soviet tier 7, the T6 at 100. So whether I think that the Tiger spam within World of Tanks is kind of already pretty maxed out when Wargaming had another Tiger bundle with some pretty good Tiger tanks like the 217. I think it's a pretty good one. Heavy tank number 6, not particularly overpowered. But then again, it's up to your kind of interpretation. And of course, the T6100, it's kind of up to you. Do you really like the Tigers? If not, probably don't want to spend 8,000 gold on a load of tier 6 and tier 7 tanks that don't really earn you much premium or much silver. So yeah, up to you what you want to do with that one. Now, as far as moving on with the news, we have got some extra stuff within this week. Now, we've got a new World War II premium tank that Wargaming keeps saying new, but it is just a reskinned version of the Roger Dodger if you manage to actually pick it up as part of the World of Tanks Hot Wheels season. Yes, of course, Hot Wheels. Don't know what the branding association has to do with toys, but it seems like we've actually got that within the game currently. But yeah, the new World War II premium is the E75 TS. It's basically an E75 hull with some spaced armour slapped on the side of it. We've then got the kind of Lerva turret and also 360 alpha damage, I believe, on this thing, which is slightly higher than Lerva at 320. So it's a really, really good one. It hits on the move very fast. It also is a fairly fast heavy tank, considering it is a heavy tank, and you can go, I think, 45 kilometers an hour. Yep, 45 kilometers an hour forward. You've got 50% silver bonus, so you earn a little bit of silver with this thing. 1,500 hit points. You're fairly slow to turn around, so make sure that you do pre-turn, if that makes sense, if light tanks are going to try and out-traverse you. And of course, with the accuracy and aim time being fairly high, you do want to put on all of the perks that will reduce that, and so you can actually fire on the move. But remember, this tank has good dispersion value, so it doesn't actually bloom out as much when you're on the move. So think about that when you're thinking about this tank. And certainly with a 13-second reload to do 360 alpha, it's not got the best DPM in the world, but it can come down quite substantially, especially when you put on all of the damage perks. But yeah, interesting tank. Certainly one that if you haven't played that kind of playstyle before, it's an interesting one. It'll be a good way to get into it. As far as the bundles, the E75 TS will come with the Edmund Orlik 2D Hero Commander. So if you want to purchase it, it comes out first on June 15th, which happens to be my birthday, of course, the day of this recording. But yeah, 13,110 gold for this thing, so it's very, very expensive when it first comes out with the E75 TS. Then you get the Edmund Orlik, and you also get 30 days of premium account time. So think about that. If you kind of want to purchase it, it's very expensive, and considering you can actually get bundles for the same price, then definitely think about where you're going to spend your money, especially if you haven't got some of these already. But yeah, for those of you tank collectors out there, then this one is probably the one you'll go for, since waiting another 2 weeks to actually get it just on its own for the saving of like 2,700 or 2,300 gold. It's really up to you. But yeah, the loaded version comes out a week later for 12,500 gold, and that just comes with the Orlik 2D Hero Commander, so you're basically essentially paying 600 gold for 30 days of premium. So I guess if you're interested in kind of getting a bit more premium, I guess it would be worth it, spending that extra bit as opposed to just waiting. But generally, if you not too fussed about the tank and you want to pick it up just on its own, it will be 10,900 just under on the 29th of June, 2 weeks after its initial release. So yeah, think about that. If you want it, definitely pick it up. It's an interesting German heavy tank, premium at least. Now, moving on, we have got the on-track event for this week. We have got the Czech tech tree, and I cannot implore you to actually get your hands on some of these Czechoslovakian tanks. Now, between tiers 5 to 6, they're fantastic. The Skoda T25, I believe, at tier 6, or the T24, not entirely sure, might be slightly wrong there, but the tier 6 Czechoslovakian tank is fantastic. It's an autoloader, got 3 rounds in its clip. Really, really, really good fun, and I cannot implore you more to actually get stuck in with that line. The tier 7 and the tier 8, let's not beat around the bush, they are absolute dog rubbish, basically. They are terrible. They are awful, and I'm not going to beat around the bush, Definitely don't go purchasing the tier 7 and tier 8 thinking that they're going to be fantastic, because they really aren't in the game. The tier 9, however, turns the boat completely around. Absolutely fantastic. Probably one of the best tier for tier medium tanks in the game. The Skoda T50, really, really good one. And then, of course, the tier 10 being the TVP T5051, which is another amazing Czechoslovakian tank, and definitely one you should be going for. 4-shot autoloader, 320 damage per shot, 1260 or 1280 actual damage in the clip potential. Really, really good tank, and certainly one you will want to go for. I did a video on the Skoda or the TVP T5051 recently. If you did have a look at that, obviously this will help you out going towards those tank lines. Now, moving on, we got keycards, of course, as usual. They will be reset on the next season. So with the beginning of the next season being on the 29th of June, we will get the keycards reset. And we'll also get the long haul kind of finishing around the same time as well. So we've got the long haul running from the 15th to the 22nd. So you've got 1 week to be able to complete this place in the top 7 XP earners on your team in 75 battles. Award you some random keycard that is always the confidential keycard, let's be honest. I haven't had a top secret one from the long haul in a long time. Definitely a long time. And realistically, when you get 200 gold for grinding out 75 battles, it's not particularly great. Interesting if you get a top secret one and you manage to get a premium that you already own, of course, gets you loads of silver, or loads of gold, I should say. But yeah, for those of you spending time on the game, is it worth grinding out 75 battles if you're not enjoying it just to get a top secret keycard or the chance of one? Definitely not. I would definitely invest your time in elsewhere. Only if you don't enjoy the game. But if you enjoy the game and you just do it casually, then getting the confidential, classified or top secret keycards is always a kind of an added bonus of playing the game and keeping yourself occupied playing the game as well. Now, with regards to some other things, we have got some extra bonuses for this week. We've got the free XP conversion bonus, of course, monetized content once again. 1 gold for 35 free XP will basically mean, instead of it being the 1 to 25, you'll just basically get like another 10 free XP per gold. So yeah, you're basically making yourself another like 50% free XP every time you convert. But for me personally, the whole point about World of Tanks is grinding through those tanks that you got in the game. Spending money to just grind through them seems a little bit pointless in my opinion. And so yeah, that's kind of my view on that. And whether I think that actually spending money on free XP is a necessary evil, I don't know. I don't particularly ever really done it myself. Now, with regards to other things, we've got premium tanks for free XP, of course, this week. As usual, we've got a few lists. We'll go through the best ones from this list. You've got the Kruppstader Waffenträger, avoid. We've got the FV4503, avoid. Wojciech, avoid. T92, avoid. Sherman Firefly, avoid. T50-2, good one. Good kind of purchase that you can actually make there. 77,000 free XP is not too bad. HMH Chrysler K, not necessarily an avoid, but it's a very expensive tier 8. However, we have got some more expensive ones. But yeah, if you want to pick up the HMH Chrysler K, then go ahead. But for me personally, wouldn't really want to spend that much, considering you can have much more fun in some other tanks in the game. Then the Bear KV122, probably avoid that one, just because it's quite expensive and it's not particularly an amazing tank. It's not going to certainly be super overpowered or competitive. Then we have the Scourge Kirovets, which is kind of underrated. It's a decent tank, fairly mobile, but for 271,000 free XP, not one I'd go for. I'd wait until the tier 10s are on discount if you've got that much free XP just saved up. As far as some other things, Icebreaker VK7501K, not a particularly amazing one. The Ball Breaker, yeah, 160,000 free XP for that. Not particularly one I'd go for. But then again, I'm not a particular heavy tank player. Then we have the Alpine Tiger. Definitely avoid this one. 304,000 for a tier 8 that is particularly not amazing. It's pretty average. Yeah, you would definitely want to avoid that. But the next one being the Rheinmetall Scorpion, which for 200,000 free XP, one of the cheaper tier 8s within this kind of list. This one is a must-have if you haven't already got these Rheinmetall Scorpion. We have done a video on it. One of the most overpowered TDs at tier 8, in my opinion at least. Mobile, got a great gun, 490 alpha damage. You've got everything you need within this kind of tank, and it's got even better with the upgrades to accuracy within these latest update 6.0 changes a couple, 6 months ago now, nearly. Then, of course, the Chimera, tier 8, it's a pretty decent one. It's like a Centurion that's kind of upgraded. Yeah, not a bad one, not a bad shout. Then we have the EOC Even 90, which is a really good one, and certainly could definitely be there for 130,000 free XP. Then the TANK, the tank, 143,000, mercenary tier 8. It's basically that kind of the turtle, basically, essentially. It's got that derp gun. If I'm right in thinking, I'm pretty sure it does. Yep, it has the same derp gun as the turtle. They are pretty much the exact same tank that you can pick up. And then, of course, the Trinity Mark II, the medium tank, one that I'd probably avoid. I mean, it's a decent tank, but it's not super competitive. It's kind of one of those that doesn't really have a high skill cap, in my opinion. It's kind of spaced armor all over, which means that you can bounce. But, you know, any of the ones below 200,000 free XP are probably worth getting, in my opinion, if you haven't already got them, and certainly prioritise them in terms of the Scorpion and the EOC Even 90, maybe the Trinity next, or the Chimera. As far as some other things, of course, being a tier 10 silver event, you'll get 100% more silver, and basically to earn this silver boost, you will be able to do it by either dealing at least 500 damage, deal at least 500 spotting assist damage, or detect 2 or more enemy tanks in a surviving battle. So very, very easy operation to complete. You just have to achieve one of those. So if you basically log into the game, don't be an absolute bot, and you'll manage to pretty much complete the silver op. So you get 100% more silver at tier 10, which is probably one of the better areas that you can actually make money within the game when this event is actually on. So yeah, this one, really, really good one, and certainly a time that you want to bring out your tier 10 tanks. Now, moving on, we then have the Father's Day collection. So we've got an extra couple of things that will be coming out this weekend. A 25% saving on all equipment, which is a great time to actually purchase some of your equipment that you haven't got in your tanks. Make sure that you do that this weekend. 25% saving. So instead of costing you 500,000, it will cost you about 425,000 or somewhere around there, actually. Yeah, well, 375,000, I should actually say. Sorry about my maths there. But yeah, 375,000 for a 500,000 piece of equipment. So make sure you spend your silver if you've been saving up for pieces of equipment this weekend, or just hold off until this weekend, 18th of June to the 22nd of June. So yeah, that's kind of that. And then the final little bits of this update, we've got the weekly deals being the Bison T103 and the Paladin Carnarvon Action X. Bison, really good tank, fairly decent, 6,000 gold, 6,500 gold, kind of worth it. It's got this very well heavily armoured turret. Hull armour is pretty weak, I'm not going to lie, but it has got this really nice alpha damage gun, 550 alpha I think it has, something along those lines, about 500 roughly, or actually 440, which is surprising, but it does have the HE of 580, so yeah, it's actually surprising. I thought it had slightly more than that, but of course I was wrong. But yeah, penetration value is more than sufficient for a tier 8, and yeah, really, really good tank. Well, I say really good tank. It's kind of a good tank for a bit of fun, if you take it as that it's not going to be super competitive within the current meta of the game. Now, then we have the Paladin Carnarvon Action X, the British Tier 8 heavy tank. So this is 5,455 gold. Not a bad one. Certainly one that you might want to pick up if you haven't already got it. We did get a Paladin Earn operation not too long ago. So for those of you who took advantage of that and managed to pick it up, then yeah, you won't need this bundle. But for those of you who didn't, and you want to try out a British fast-firing heavy tank that isn't from the tech tree, then this one is only 5,500 gold for a tier 8. Isn't too bad, in my personal opinion. And then finally, the community streams with Minto Vimto. We've got one on today. So as of the recording of this video, you'll be able to tune in about 2 hours after it's released. I think it's 8 o'clock British time currently, so GMT, which is 7 p.m. UTC. So convert that to wherever you are in the world, and that's what the time is. So 7 o'clock UTC. Same as with the Friday stream on June 18th, it will be at the same time, and that will be with the following update and talk with Pain God. And then on Monday, the 21st of June, we'll have insider information for the next week's update and the final kind of bit of the season, basically. So that is basically all of the news on the website, but we have got a little bit extra in the form of the more maps. So for those of you who didn't know, we are getting 5 new revamped maps coming back to the game. We've got Overlord, Westfield, El Alamein, Hellfire Pass, which was previously Scorpion Pass, but this is a larger map now, so it's actually been increased in size, so it's the same kind of size as your ones like the brand new one, the Northern Lights map, this one right here that you can see, that map, and all of the various different ones, Desval, those sort of ones. It's the same size, so it's basically been expanded, and then of course Ghost Town coming into the map as well. So interesting to see those maps coming back, and it will certainly be a great relief for those of you that have kind of been interested in making sure that we've got some more maps back in the game, and of course an interesting kind of site. And I definitely am so pleased about Westfield coming back. For those of you who want to check out what the actual map, where you should go on the different maps, I did make a complete map guide for these 5 new maps that are coming into the game. Of course, the Scorpion Pass variant isn't been covered within that video, but we did talk about it slightly. But of course, because it got increased in size, and we don't know what the current metas are going to be when it actually gets released in game. So yeah, new maps coming. Surprise for everyone. Well, not a surprise because it's taken them 6 months. Let's not be forgetting about that. But really good news, in my opinion. Fantastic, great new maps, and yeah, really, really happy about that. Now, there are a few extra things within this week that you want to be noting down in your notebooks. Of course, the Bisonte and the Italian heavy tanks are on the way very, very soon. We've got the Bisonte actually first look image, so we can actually have a look at what that looks like. It will be on screen right about now, so you'll be able to have a look at it. It looks like an interesting tank, and certainly I know on PC it is the better of the tier 8 heavy tanks, or Italian heavy tanks, if that makes sense, like compared to the Tech Tree version. It's just basically a better version. It wouldn't be like Wargaming to make the premium better than the Tech Tree version. That never used to be the case back in the day, but of course times have changed and they've realised that you can earn a little bit more money if you do it that way. So yeah, very, very interesting, and one that you should probably think about if you want to pick up some new tanks. And of course, I think what will happen is during the update next week, and this is not today, but the following week's update, I reckon that the Bisonte will actually enter the game, because usually what they'll do before they release the Italian heavies is they'll give you like a week or 2 weeks in order to purchase the premium tank version of the Tech Tree, basically being the Bisonte C45, and then they'll release the actual heavy tank Tech Tree. Usually that's kind of how it works. The release date has been said to have not been set yet, so we don't actually know when that will happen and when the Italian heavies will come out, but I would expect either the 29th of June being when the Italian heavies actually get released, or 2 weeks after that. It would be my idea. As far as the Bisonte, either next week or the following week is where I would say that we will get the Bisonte, and almost certainly I reckon that the Bisonte C45 will come out as the ultimate season pass for next season, where you pay extra money basically on top of the base battle pass that you can actually purchase on World of Tanks console, and they're usually around 11,000 to 12,000 gold for the season pass, which I guess if you want the new tank and the season pass at the same time, along with, it usually comes with like a premium commander, then I guess it could be for you. But for me, I'm not going to buy into that kind of paying for like one tank for 12,000 gold, 30 quid or whatever it is, like $40 for you Americans that watch the videos. Yeah, not a thing I'm going to personally buy into, but think about it. If you want to purchase it, it'll probably be in the Ultimate Season Pass, so keep your eyes on that. As far as fixes, we've not got too much information, but what we have talked about is actually fixing the gun raising and reticle jump bugs, which, do you know what? I'm actually getting sick and tired of this actually just being a bug within World of Tanks console, because it's been 6 months since update 6.0. Let's not actually beat around the bush here. It's been 6 months and it's taken them this long to actually just fix a core game mechanic in the game. Why has it not been a priority? You would have thought that within the first couple of weeks they'd have fixed all of the gameplay bugs that came out with the update, but of course, no, we haven't actually had that yet, and it's taken them now 6 months, nearly to the dot, for them to actually kind of recognise this as a problem and finally actually implement a fix. And of course, we've not actually been given a confirmed date, so they don't even know if they're going to fix this bug yet by today. So if you're watching this video and it has been fixed, then great. If you're not, that's an absolute shambles, in my personal opinion anyway. Obviously, you can make your own mind up as to what you think. If you're a casual player and you didn't really notice it, then of course it's not going to make too much of a difference. But for someone that's, looking to kind of play the game and really have a little bit of fun, it kind of really bugs me when the game itself is trying to go against you and it's popping your reticle into the middle of the screen when you're aiming at someone down in the bottom left or something like that. But yeah, would like to see your thoughts on what this weekly news has been. Of course, it's been a pretty long video this week, and of course we've got lots of information that you can trawl through. Of course, go back through any information that you wanted to use or have a look at, of course, and you can do that using the timestamps like I suggested at the beginning of this video to pinpoint the specific areas that you're more interested in. But yeah, if you want to have a look at any other content on the channel, of course we've got loads of gameplay now. We've had plenty of videos over the last 6 months of uploading pretty much every day. Let's not, nearly every day. I'm not even going to lie. It's been pretty constant video streams, and I'm pretty happy with how it's gone so far. And of course, hopefully there'll be more content coming soon. I have just got a new computer, so I will be hoping to actually maybe test out a couple of World of Tanks PC videos where we'll talk about the main differences and whether we'd like to see any of the PC implemented features into the console version. So yeah, stay tuned for videos on that, and of course let me know what you think about that. And yeah, you can do that in the comment section down below. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, make sure to do so. If you did enjoy the content, of course, don't subscribe if you don't enjoy it, because you'll get recommended my content more when it gets uploaded, of course. And obviously, if you liked the video, then you can make up your own mind and like or dislike the video depending on how you felt about it. But other than that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.